It's a lot. I have climate, I would call it climate rage these days, that comes in waves. And yeah, it's not superficial at all. It's like, so it's grief, it's climate anxiety, it's climate grief and rage. And there's something that's bubbling up now about the paradox of the stuff I'm most angry about is the stuff I maybe least speak about.
Oh.
Because it's so easy to slip, for me at least, into judgmentalism about it. It's like, well, why are you making those decisions?
And so I just want to say that I feel very complicit because I feel like I really care about this. And I don't talk about it very much because I don't want to upset people.
It's important to speak up, but it feels risky at times because somebody might get upset with us if we were to say it. So I find myself just making subtle little comments often about the weather. Well, I enjoy the warm weather, but I'm really worries me, kind of thing. Not that that does a whole heck of a lot, but I worry about my kids and my grandkids and my great grandkids. What are they going to have for an earth?
Yeah. I also wanted to share, I'm very concerned. I may not have, 20 years of experience studying the environment, but I certainly read and get a lot of information about what's happening to our earth. We only need to open our eyes to see. So I think it's a shared experience for most of us.
How do you feel about the climate if you don't feel like you belong to the society? If you feel like I have no say in how people are dealing with climate, I feel powerless, and the world they're going to destroy, it's their world. They won't even let me into it. So I can't be that concerned because I don't feel like I'm a member of it. I don't think, for example, that the climate is being ruined because people are going out in the morning and say, let's ruin the climate. Instead, they're saying, let's make a lot of money. And someone says to them, well, what about the climate? It's not my problem. I need to, make a lot of money.
To me, like anger is a really big, important topic in a way between us focusing human beings who are willing to deal with this stuff. It feels like having a different appreciation or a different way forward with anger would make the difference for me, how I feel about climate change, not having grandchildren, other people's grandchildren, the environment, guns in schools. It feels like a lot of what prevents me from feeling like a player or having a voice has a lot to do with anger and disappointment and feeling sort of alienated from the world that I'm in.
I think what's coming up in me is this sense of grief, like a really depth of grief. And it's a feeling of this locked up, voiceless, an image of like people living in these cells of rooms and very just like this sense of social disconnection and lack of social mattering and bonding and belonging then actually decapacitates to sense the deeper sense of belonging, like the deeper sense of belonging that we are elemental bodies, the belonging that earth actually gives us energy through our feet. There is a heartbeat in the earth, that we are interconnected. We are the processes. Like we are the air. We're not disconnected. Without air, we wouldn't be here. And without water, we would die within a few days. Like water is 80-90% of our system. Like these elemental exchanges is forgotten because so much of our attention is focused on the pains of these social disconnections. And at least in my experience, I can resonate with what you feel, Rachel. Like I think that sense of disconnection and helplessness is so pervasive. And like the more I melt in my own traumas and disconnections and those feelings, the more my system opened up to the deeper sense of belonging, like to the elemental belongings, to like my body actually being an inter-exchange with the elemental cosmic forces, the earth elemental forces. So I feel a lot of grief. And I want to circle back to what Annette was saying is like how to, because it's so experiential and it's felt in my body. I really feel the energy of the earth nourishing me moment to moment. And I can communicate with the earth and feel it. And that experience, how do I communicate that with people? If they, maybe even some, like on an intellectual level, know that there is a climate crisis, like my parents, but they are not, they don't feel it, like they don't live it and breathe it. Like it is, how do we translate these experiential consciousness into words and communicate it with people?
I mean, from my perspective, the reason why, as a culture here in the United States, at least, we can't talk to one another is we keep talking to each other at the level of our anger. You know, when we talk about climate change, we talk at the level of anger. We don't say, you know, what's at the higher level here or what's at the lower level for us. We never talk about, you know, what's the higher point here? You know, is it for the future of mankind? You know, do we really care about that? Or, you know, if you want to make money, you know, can we go to a lower level and say, are there ways to make money in climate change? Let's talk about that.
Some of mine are, it's an injustice wound. And then now it feels like it's a gift, but I'm not quite there to, like, I still have too much anger and judgment, but there's a real sense of wanting the justice for people and also all species. The loss of biodiversity is huge. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's a journey, I guess, of being with it and finding out where it came from. But then how do you transform that? How do you use that wound to create energy to create good in the world? There must be a limit to how much grief we can hold. A friend I was talking to on the weekend, she was quite outraged about Iran, and I was like, oh, I don't even care about people anymore. I was like, I don't have enough energy to care about people because I'm caring so much about all of the species that we're losing, the massive extinction, and how that can't come back.
The thing is, if I can't do it myself, how can I expect others to do so? How can I expect others to put environment protection before their needs? See, I care about the world, I care about people, but how I care about them, I don't know.
I'm curious about how you know you care about them. There's something way that you're so true to yourself. How do you know that you care?
I feel something in my body. Yeah.
Like I suffer a lot with, and I have my whole life with the feeling of not being part of things, like very much like Rachel was talking, and you know, and as I'm older now, it's just, I feel this acute need in the time I have left to see if I can, you know, change that.